So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in with us. So this is the Panhandle Real Estate Investor Network. Um, and I wanted to start this meetup as a way to supplement getting the local real estate investors together, to do deals, to find partners, to connect, share advice, everything that comes along with getting out and just meeting people and trying to provide value to people. So that's kind of why I started this, and so far it's been awesome. Getting to hear from another awesome investor today. We got Melissa Haworth, and she is a wholesaler here in Panama City Beach. She also has some buy and hold units in Texas and here in Florida as well. But she's the CEO of Shorefront Restorations and really killing that business, which does flipping and mostly wholesaling here in the Bay County area. So she's doing awesome, still closing deals during COVID. Have changed some things in her real estate business to include, which we'll get into more, but I know there's been some language in the contracts, much more due diligence with talking to sellers and extending things with title companies. So a lot of changes. We'll hear about that and how she's still finding success and closing deals. So without further ado, Melissa, welcome. Please tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Well, I'm in Dallas this week. I also have my law degree, so I run a few businesses, and so one of them is a law firm here in Dallas, so I have to come back and forth to keep that going. But I really started in California like 20-something years ago, and I got my real estate license in California, and then did some commercial stuff there, and then kind of put it on the back burner up until like 3 years ago. And then I originally started just to, my oldest daughter had graduated from college and was having a hard time in Florida finding a place to rent because she was coming out of school and she didn't qualify for anything. So she was just starting a job. So I really had just started to get a rental property. And then that was so easy and it went so smooth. So then I thought I should get a couple more. So I ended up getting about 8 over on the East Coast of Florida, near Cocoa Beach and Palm Bay in that area. And then we started, and then my partners, JD and Annabelle, and then we got a 10-plex in Shreveport. And then we just started to do, one of the things I do also is we have a sheet metal business. And so we kind of travel around on that to storm damage areas. And so we came to Panama City because some of our contractors were here. And I was like, wow, this housing market was just crazy here. I mean, just so much damage. And so we started to acquire properties through wholesaling or buy and hold, rehabbing. And lucky for us, we met Blake, and he's partnered with us on some deals, and one that's getting ready to close. We just got cleared to close, I think the 29th. So that's kind of my story. And I have 2 other partners, and they're in the Air Force like Blake, and they're stationed in Virginia. And so we do a lot of Zoom to keep our business going. And I don't know if you just want me to do my background or if you wanted me to go into anything else. Oh, and we bought some short-term rentals. And so that's been our huge hit. That's the only thing that's suffered greatly for us is the short-term rental market right now.
Yeah, and that's been the same for me. I know we both kind of seen how our short terms have changed. So we just had to slash prices. I don't know how yours has changed, but in April, I mean, we just completely lower than any expectation we had. But overcoming it, have you been able to keep some people in yours at lower prices too?
We could not, because we had it under management, because there was just nothing. We couldn't take on any more than what we already had going on. And so
Gotcha.
managing properties is never something, I did it the first year that I got my properties, my buy and hold. And I was like, I learned the ropes. I knew what I was looking for in a management company, and I vowed I would never do it again. So we are under a management company right now, but we are discussing this week, in fact, if we want to end that relationship and just take over, because in Florida, and everybody I think here is in Florida, we can't, at least not till June 1st. And then once it is, it's going to phase it in where it's only Floridians that can rent them. And then there's going to be that gap in between your guests that I can't remember if it's like, is it 24 or 48 hours? I can't
I
remember.
think it's 48.
Yeah. So before we could
Crazy.
get in and have somebody clean it and get somebody, they check out Saturday, somebody else checks in Saturday night. And so they've taken that away from us for sure. So we're just trying to pivot and looking at doing 30 days, 30-day rentals. So we've had some inquiries from military people and some medical people to do 30 days in 2 months, I think. So we're going to talk about maybe changing that up.
Yeah, we thought about the same thing. Like I know, so we self-manage, which is why we've been able to kind of get around this. And for us, it's not that bad because one, we have 3 Airbnb units. One's attached to our house in a guest suite, so that's easy. And then the other one's 6 blocks away from where we live. So it's nothing to spend, 60 seconds in the car to drive there and go turn it. And we actually thankfully have 3 Air Force pilots all paying per diem on that, which is carrying us because they're staying for training until June. So they're getting set income paid by the government, like getting reimbursed for travel, which is helping us. Like if somebody else was working, they probably would have to cancel and we'd be out.
Yeah.
So they've been carrying us. And then for ours in our house, we just lowered them substantially.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. We just don't have that luxury where we're at right now under a management company.
Yeah, and everybody, I think, like I'm part of the Bay County Host Club here, and that's all the Airbnb, like VRBO, short-term rental hosts, and they're all like, man, suffering. So
yes,
I know it's a big part of like the local economy because that brings so much business, and a lot of people are struggling, unfortunately. But hopefully, it starts turning around here pretty soon. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Get back to normal rental rates, and hopefully the summer is really good.
Yeah.
Annabelle's in. Sorry, Annabelle, just saw your message pop up. Thanks for joining. But how on the wholesale side? So I know that's still going. You got the short terms, the long-term rentals, and then the wholesale business that I assume takes a little bit more maintenance and requires you to, or has required you to change things around. So what have you seen on that side of things, and what kind of pivots have you made to deal with COVID?
In regards to, I'm sorry, you cut out just for a second. In regards to which part of it?
The wholesale, like the
wholesale. Okay. Well, we went into it, we talked a lot about how we were going to market and if we should market the way we had been, or if we should slow it down. And we're in a mastermind, and everybody in there was kind of taking it easy and slowing down. And so we decided that we would continue as it was going, just because our market is so unique here. Everybody is still reeling from the hurricane, and so then to have this on top of it, because like you said, this is a tourist driven place. And so many people count on that for income. So we decided we would just continue our marketing plan, and we've gotten a lot of response. And as you know, we've gotten a lot of properties. A lot of them didn't fit our criteria, but we got the last one that we're getting ready to close on. And so we haven't seen a downturn in our marketing. It's been pretty much the same as prior. A lot of people, we were getting more people who were saying, hey, just make me an offer than before.
Yeah. For sure.
And so the only other difference is in wholesaling the properties, right when it hit, we had quite a few that were under contract, and we had people back out of those. And then we also had to adjust, and I think we talked about that before, about, the pricing changing because of the virus. Instead of the ARV, they were talking about calling it the other one. What were they calling it? What were we laughing about? The after virus. What was that? Instead of the ARV, it was the AVR or something, after virus something. I can't remember.
Or something.
Value, after COVID
Yes.
value.
Yes, thanks, JD. I couldn't remember what it was. Thank you. So we've had to adjust the prices a little bit, and then also it's taking longer through title because people weren't doing their same roles in-house like they were before. So there was a slowdown on that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And JD can chime in here too, because he's my partner about the things he's seen, because he does more of the money analysis. So he has input that's, I think everybody would like to hear too.
Yeah, for sure. I know when this first happened, me and JD were talking a lot about how do we determine the ARVs on the properties that we're looking at. We're going to make offers, but you know, the March 1st value, what we thought we could offer on transition to be a lot different. Not a lot different, but just built in some kind of risk aversion into that offer, because we didn't know exactly the way things were going to pan out. And it still worked out for us because Melissa, and you could probably speak to this too, like no matter what's going on in the market, like if people are scared or whatever, there's still going to be sellers that, you know, stuff's going on in their life when they have to sell. So there's still the deals out there. And some people just wanted to sit back and, you know, kind of wait to see what was going to happen. Right. But like what Shorefront's doing, if you're still marketing, still going out and finding these sellers, there's still deals to be had. Like lives don't stop because of COVID, and there's still those pain points or you know, factors that cause people to want to sell.
Yes, and you know, the investor that's just doing like one or two, they're more nervous than an investor who's been in it a while and been in the game. So we're still getting people interested that are, you know, bigger investors than the smaller ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had a question about that. If you guys are having trouble finding end buyers at all for your wholesales.
JD, you want to kick in on that?
Yeah, so initially we were having trouble, but that's because the properties that we had under contract were under contract with people who it was their first or second flip. And so at first we started freaking out because we had multiple properties fall out of contract and we didn't know what to do. And then we reached out and partnered with another investor in town to find their buyers. They brought in the buyers, saved us on a couple of last minute deals, so we didn't lose those contracts. But now that we are kind of a few months into this, we're seeing that our real buyers on our buyers list are still purchasing properties, and maybe even at an accelerated rate. But like Melissa said, the ones and twos, the first time flippers, they're kind of still hanging back to see which direction this is going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how it went with that last one we just closed on just a little bit ago, a couple of weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it was. Like we had somebody back out. The first buyer backed out and then ended up closing to a more experienced person who had, you know, like recognized the deal and knew what he was doing. So he was comfortable in that and to still close, which was good. So yeah, definitely. And JD, what we were saying a little bit with like the repair value or the after repair value, I think this would be a good one to touch on. Like if you're still looking to do deals right now, I know me and you talked about this a little bit already, but could you kind of explain like what you're looking at now for like building the offers and kind of, you know, what you're deciding on that offer price to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the uncertainty has been dealt with before in 2008 when the market crashed. And so what we did was reached out to our mentors from across the country that are have been dealing with 2008. And they said, you know, at first they were saying, you know, just build in like a 20% cushion on your offer so you get it just a little bit deeper than you would normally. And then one of the guys that I listen to a lot, he has a podcast. His name's Matt Terrio. He said, still pull your comps from your 6 months, 3 months, 12 months, whatever it is that you normally use your comps from, but do it on a weighted system. So if you have a house that closed 3 days ago, count that one 4 times, count the house that closed last month only once, so you get a more weighted factor on your ARVs, because it's so soon. We don't have a whole bunch of properties that have sold in most neighborhoods within the COVID crisis.
Right.
So the ones that have sold in that recent amount of time, give them more validity than the ones that closed on the very fringe of your comp data.
That's good.
Yep, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's what went into the one that we're closing on here in 2 weeks is that exact process. And like we're talking about, the seller still had the motivation, and it was a win-win for everybody to go ahead and still get that deal done.
Well, I think that's why you went in with a deeper discount to begin with on that one, which ended up being right in the seller strike point. So it worked out.
Yeah.
Just asking for a little bit deeper discount.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And Melissa, you mentioned this a little bit, like planning to close. So the title companies like us working off of base, we're teleworking or we're teleworking for 5 or 6 weeks. Title companies are doing the same things, might have nobody in the office or very limited people
Right.
in the office at a time. So how has that changed, and how have you adapted to that to still get through the process to close?
Well, we extended our closing to 40 with sellers to 40 business days. So that would buy us that extra time that was needed. And then closing, they're doing remote closings because we didn't have people that were in the office. And then some of them were just doing the mail-ins because people were concerned about that. So that's what we did. And that seriously helped because it built us in some extra time. If we were having trouble finding a buyer, that extra time of those business days. And it was great because nobody, balked at it at all. Do you agree, JD? Nobody gave us any pushback, and you would know that too, Blake, of the 40 business days.
Yeah, I think everybody understood, and because usually we have to explain why we want a longer inspection period, but when you have a crisis on a global level, I think everybody kind of understands, oh yeah, it makes sense. Nobody's working. So of course I'll give you a couple extra days.
Yeah. Many of the sellers I've talked to, say in the months prior, they were all focused on, fast closings, getting cash and being out. They wanted that speed to move on. And now, where of course they still want that, they're being understanding. So I don't think we've had any pushback really of pushing that to 40 days, which has really been helpful because it gives the title company, and we've not, I don't think we haven't pushed it to that 40 days even. It's just giving us the time if we need it. And so far, we've still been closing under our normal time frame, but it's just having the communication and setting the expectation up front that should something happen or it take longer, we have that in place so that we can still get the deal done. So just being diligent there.
Yeah. It makes me breathe easier having that 40. Yeah.
Gives you a little, allows you to sleep easy at night.
Right.
As far as, like we talked about in the beginning, Florida is starting to open up. This week we've seen restaurants start to open up to limited capacity, and the local economy is starting to test it out to get back to normal. It still seems like it's going to be, a month or so. So what are you preparing for going forward? And what do you think it's going to be like once we get out of this COVID system or COVID time?
Yeah, like I spoke a little bit earlier, I don't know if JD was on when I was talking about it. Our big thing is the short-term rental. So that's where we're talking about maybe pivoting at least for the next few months and getting a longer-term tenant in there to help because, that's a big loss. Luckily for all of us, we all have jobs. So that didn't set us way back. It didn't kill us, but it was definitely we had hoped that this was going to be a moneymaker. And of course, it's been a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's the only thing that we're changing. We are definitely didn't stop any of our marketing or even scale back. In fact, we really amped up because we brought in text messaging too since this all started. So, just the short-term rental is the only thing that we're going to do something different on.
Yeah. That's good to see. So normal transactions like long-term rentals and flips are still going on.
Yeah.
One thing I know that we've talked about too is the cold leads. So we've gone back and hit past leads that, at that time they said, it's really not the best time for us. Maybe we want to wait and see what our options are, or maybe they were waiting for a higher offer. So we went back through our system and hit those people. And that's where the most recent contract came from, was one of those cold leads.
Yeah. That was months ago. We had started on it.
Yeah.
But,
I think they ghosted me on an appointment in like October and November or something.
Yeah.
3 times. Yeah. JD said 3 times. Yeah. We tried multiple times, and then this kicked off. So it actually kind of helped their motivation in this situation.
And then we are doing one other thing different. We decided that every single house that we put an offer on, every single one we would put an offer on in writing. So if somebody, if you or Tom or JD or I present an offer over the phone, even if they say no, we're putting it out in the mail to them, written. Just, you never know. Like in a month, they might see that laying on their counter and say, hey, I'm not in a good spot and I could use some help.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, that's pro tip of the meetup right there. Hit the cold leads, because
no, for sure.
Well, and I'm a little bit upset about those cold leads and going back over them, because really the reason that we decided to go back over them is because that's what all of our mentors were saying was, hey, hit your leads. There's people in your system already that are going to be affected by this and going to need to sell their property, and you guys have the solution, so go and hit them again. But I'm not so convinced that it is specifically because of COVID that's happening. And so now I'm thinking like, okay, this is going to be over in a few months, or, even if it went on to as much as a year, eventually it's going to be over. But I think we need to put the systems in place to start our follow-up on those cold leads sooner, and not wait for some big event to take place to be able to do that. Because I think the gold is in there. You just got to turn over a lot of the dirt to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've really been hitting all those cold leads over and over again.
Yeah. And hopefully not let them get cold. Maybe let them cool off a little bit, and then just hit them again.
Yeah.
What did they say? Like 5 to 8 touches before the average person wants to jump on board. That's awesome. Yep. Okay. So cool. That's kind of the main points I wanted to hit. Kind of how Shorefront Restorations is still able to close deals. So kind of to recap, still marketing, even ramped up a little bit, and then going back and hitting those cold leads. So keeping the funnel full, not taking this time to let people get out of that funnel or whatever, but keeping that funnel full, still making offers, and like Melissa said, being very intentional and following up with those offers, sending it in writing so those people can see it, hey, these people can still close. Working with title companies, just making sure you're very, very diligent in your process, and having the communication along the lines, and then closing. So that's kind of the wrap up of what we talked about so far. Is there anything else I missed in the process of how Shorefront is still able to make the progress here?
We're also actively, always trying to get new buyers, so we're following and tracking everybody who's paying cash out there or multiple properties. So we're actively doing that and tracking that and reaching out to those people as well.
That's really good. Yeah, because now you want to find those experienced buyers that can close and that are more comfortable with their process in a time like this.
Right.
So sorry, go ahead.
I didn't know if JD wanted to add anything on that as well.
Well, yeah, that's a painstaking process. There's nothing easy about it. We're literally tracking each deal. Any of the deals that we had in our pipeline that went to another wholesaler or to another flipper, we're tracking those to, look at them 6 months later on the county website and stuff like that, and trying to keep a spreadsheet and track them. It's not easy, but it's paying off because we're expanding our buyers list literally every single month.
Which is huge, especially as the marketing's still paying off and putting leads in the funnel. Awesome.
Yeah, 'cause that's definitely an expensive way. The way JD built that out to get new buyers that are actually buying, not people who say they're buying, and then aren't cash buyers or they don't have the ability to close the deal.
Yeah, definitely. And I forgot to mention it, but just one of those points in there was relying on the partnerships, like using like finding commonalities between people, like you said on the last one you closed, use the other wholesaler. They had the buyer, you had the good deal, combine forces and still get it done. Everybody still gets paid. It's a win-win. So that's another good way to still close deals right now, is find who has what you need. So if you have a great deal, find the person that can close it, or if you have the funds, find the person with the great deal, anything like that. So that's another great strategy in a time like this to still get deals done.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that, I wanted to open it up with questions. If there's any out there about marketing, wholesaling, closing deals, what's going on with the local economy, because you got very experienced people right here that are doing it, that are going through it and still finding ways to close. So what kind of questions we got?
All right,
wrap it up. All right, so nobody has any questions? I can't believe that.
I got a question.
Yeah.
You guys wholesale, and you guys also keep some of your deals, right? Or just wholesale? Have you guys been keeping any of your deals for the past 2 months, or you guys just been wholesaling?
we kept one. We kept one that we were doing to flip, and we weren't because of everything that happened. The flip ended up taking a lot longer than it should have because we had a bad contractor, maybe 2 bad contractors. So it didn't, what we had allocated that time for it to be done, we missed when it was a prime time to sell it. So then we sat on it. And so then we decided now it was definitely not going to sell for what we needed it to. So we just converted it into a rental.
So have you adjusted your criteria for the stuff you want to keep?
JD, not really.
No, not really. Our acquisitions criteria has changed. And because of that, if we're going to be purchasing a property or putting it under contract, we already have it at a significant discount. One of the things that we're looking at is as more and more properties come online, more and more rental properties come online in the Bay County area, we expect that the rents are going to gradually come back down. So we're not accounting for the top of the end rent when we're looking at it from a rental perspective. We're not looking at what's the maximum amount of rent that the property can get right now. We're being very conservative on what our rental numbers are. And then if those numbers still fit the criteria for that property, then we'll consider getting it. But really it's we look at each property individually, and we don't have we do have a set criteria that we need to make and what we want, but we're not changing like square footage. We're not changing anything, and we're not looking for bigger spreads. It either makes our criteria for a rental or it doesn't. But we're not really changing it. We're just changing how we purchase with, bigger spreads. If that,
and you're being more conservative with your estimated rent prices, sounds like.
Yeah, right.
But that's not so much COVID related. That is the Panama City market and where we believe that the rental prices will go over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, You'd think they'd stabilize, not stay where they were 6 months ago, a year ago. So
Right. Yeah, definitely. That was a good point, JD.
Which is also, a good just point in underwriting your deals. Like always be conservative because you don't want to get caught with your pants down. Like I think there's a lot of people right now who ran slim deals at the beginning of the year and late last year. And they're sitting with a property that's not cash flowing, that the value might drop or might not be growing like they thought, and thinking, man, this is not the investment I plan to have. So I always kind of run two scenarios, like what I think the best is going to be and my worst case scenario. And I always am conservative on my best, but if it doesn't meet the worst case, then I'm not even going to pursue that deal because I'm just risk averse. I'd rather not lose out. I think there's plenty of opportunities to get more deals, and sometimes the best deal is the one you don't do. So you
For
don't.
sure. Yeah, that's a fact.
Well, cool. Well, do we got any more questions? Anything wholesale specific, local market, anything?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in real quick. So I apologize for not putting on my video right now. As you know, I'm cleaning up my garage and you guys are actually in my pocket right now. But I'd just like to introduce myself to the group. I know I've met a few of you guys before, but my name is Jessie Marshall, and my wife and I have actually been investing in passive income assets since about 2016. But just last year, we transitioned over into the active side of real estate investing, doing fix and flips here in the Panama City area. I'm also active duty Air Force, Master Sergeant. I've been stationed all around the world. I've been to 13 different countries around the world. But my first duty station was here in Panama City at Tyndall Air Force Base, right? And that was all the way back in 2002. I just want to say that this area holds a special place in my heart. It's where my wife and I started dating. It's where we got married. It's where our firstborn was baptized over there in the waters of Mexico Beach. And that's why I jumped on the opportunity to come back here after Hurricane Michael and to help rebuild and improve the communities as a rehabber. Now, I know Blake set up this meeting as targeted for wholesaling education. And I'm not knocking wholesaling at all. I admit if a deal came across my desk, I wouldn't pass up the opportunity to wholesale it, but that's not what my business is focused on right now. So our goal is to buy and rehab at least 6 more properties this year, which is why I wanted to specifically jump on this call with you guys. Because you guys, just based on what I've been hearing from this whole meetup, you guys are absolutely fantastic at what you do. I love hearing you guys' systems and what you do, and it's not arbitrarily based numbers. That's awesome. So if you guys have deals in the area, send them my way because I am buying. And yes, I am a new investor, but I have a heck of a lot of real estate investment educations, systems, technology, and coaching that I use on the daily. I've spent a lot of money investing in this stuff, and I have the capital and I want to buy. I just finished up a rehab. I put it on the market on Friday, and I'm looking for another one to come my way. And I know that you guys are awesome at what you do, and this is where I need to be involved to try and get some of those great deals put my way. So what I can offer you guys is, if you want to contact me offline, I provided my contact information into the chat box there. Hit me up, shoot me an email, give me a call anytime, and then we can discuss any kind of deals. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox like I did last time, and I really appreciate you, Blake, for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining in, and congrats on the flip that's on the market. That's awesome. Hopefully that one sees a big gain.
And Jessie, you and I have emailed back and forth, so I already have you on because I think you had told me a little bit about what you were looking for and your criteria.
I sure did. I sent you my exact buying criteria, and I am kicking myself in the butt that I didn't jump on Ed Lee sooner.
You should have. That was a sweet ass deal. We wanted to do it.
That was a great deal.
Mm-hmm. It was. That's
there will be more though. There will be more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for sharing, Jessie. I'm glad you can make it out again for this one. Awesome. Well, is there any more questions?
And I didn't, JD, is Annabelle listening? I just didn't know if she wanted to maybe touch on marketing at all, wholesale marketing, or I don't know if she's listening.
I am. Thank you for the opportunity. I just, really, I think for the marketing side, staying consistent and then tailoring your message, to your audience member, that's been key. Like, who are we targeting with any of this? With this messaging, what kind of problems are they going to run into? So obviously, I think JD touched on it, and we see foreclosure happening potentially in the next 4 to 6 months. So how can we tailor our message to that? Has kind of been our stance on it.
Yeah, that's a really good point to know who you're targeting, especially if you're trying to send the same message to a foreclosure seller as you are like just a regular out-of-state owner that's got some equity. It's completely different messages. So that's important to know the difference there, especially when you have that conversation with them. Completely different motivations. Awesome. So if that's all the questions, what I wanted to do now is, Melissa, is if you could, since you've got a lot of experience and had a lot of success, kind of share a recommendation to help people grow or maybe get their next deal, whether it's an online resource, a book, a website, a podcast that's helped you that you think would be beneficial for someone else to look at.
Oh man, that's hard. Like John Martinez.
Mm-hmm. love John Martinez.
I know y'all do. I'm only saying that for you and
Melissa
JD.
hates it. She doesn't hate him. She knows that he's good. She knows that it works. His personality and hers, he rubs her the wrong way, I guess.
He's just dry. No, he's definitely good to train for sales, for sure. Yes. I'm like everybody else. I started with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, for sure. That was the, JD and I were involved in the Kingdom. I thought that was good for people just starting out. Now we're at a higher level mastermind with the Inner Circle Elite, which is awesome.
And the Kingdom is a mastermind group, right? That people can pay a fee to get into and connect with
it's like 50 a month, JD, something small.
It's gone up to 75 a month, but there is a way to get a lifetime membership or something like that. I'm not really sure because I haven't really looked into that.
And they're really good at wholesaling and helping you, scale and start out from the beginning. So, but I think the best is just doing what you're doing. And, before COVID and all that bullshit, we would make sure that we were going to lunch with somebody every week, somebody that either is, other wholesalers. Like I told Jessie, I would like to go out to lunch with him when this is all over, or, title companies, real estate agents, that kind of, I think it just helps exchanging ideas just like we're doing. And it helps promote your business by learning and meeting other people. JD is big on the podcast more so than I am. I like to get out there like you do, Blake, and just meet people.
Yeah. That's huge and has been just massively influential. And what I've been able to do is just meeting people, just providing value at every turn. And it comes back around if you're just consistent. And,
yeah, for sure. And I do believe that you should be in a mastermind. I just think people at that higher level help push you to that next level.
Yeah, and the one I'm in is for military. For any military guys, I know Jessie. It's called the War Room Mastermind. That's a really good one. It's like $50 a month, affordable. But
Blake, is that the From Military to Millionaire Mastermind?
David Perret and Stu Grazier run it, and then there's a couple other big name guys in there as well. We've had Bill Allen speak in there. We just had Whitney Sewell speak this month, and then every week we meet with our small groups, and then once a month come together with the whole audience and get kind of a tailored message. So that one's been really good just for like accountability purposes. So thanks for bringing up the mastermind. That was a good point to have. Just to have people keep you accountable and connect with.
Yeah, and I mean that's how I met JD and Annabelle, and that's how we met you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
doing stuff like that. So yeah, networking and getting out there, meeting people, talking to people, finding people who share your values and interests is huge. So that's a big tip.
Yep.
All right. So Melissa, where can people find out more or connect with you?
Okay, so we're on Facebook, Shorefront Restorations. What is it, JD? At Shorefront Restorations.
Yep.
And then our website is shorefrontrestorations.com. And then, of course, on Facebook, on our personal page, Melissa Haworth, and then Annabelle Monroe and JD Monroe on our personal Facebook. And then we have our Shorefront Restorations Facebook, and then our Shorefront Vacations Facebook page as well.
But the most important one is the Real Estate Jam podcast.
Yes, thank you. I forgot. Sorry. Yes, so we have our own podcast, and it's freaking awesome. And we have people every week that are way more experienced than us that brought a lot of value every week. Like the one that just dropped today. It is, yes, right?
Yesterday. It was yesterday it dropped. Yep.
Yes. And it's an awesome one. He wrote the book, If You Can't Wholesale After This, I Got Nothing For You. Todd Fleming. It was a great
Fleming. I was Todd. I was like, what's the last name? Todd Fleming. He spoke to us that one day on the Zoom meetup. He's really good.
So we all did his book together. So Blake, JD, and I and Annabelle had all read his book together and got together every week, and then we had him come at the end and talk to us about it. So definitely the Real Estate Jam podcast. You've got to listen to that and subscribe. It's awesome. I'm
subscribed. I like it. And then just any last words of wisdom, what would you leave people with to continue on through COVID and do deals and keep pushing?
Don't act like nothing's any different, and don't stop. Make offers, make offers, make offers.
I love it. Keep the funnel full. Like,
yes,
it's a numbers game. You gotta put it out there to get it back.
Yep. Of course, I had somebody call me today, super pissed off, cussing me out, that he got the offer in writing, and he said, "I told you, you weren't gonna buy my fucking house." I'm like, "Oh man, I got it."
Those ones are always the funnest. You just kind of like try to diffuse it, like, "Oh, sorry, yeah." So you want to sell now?
I hate it when Melissa gets those calls directly, because if it calls into our office number or something like that, then they're all recorded through CallRail, and we can share those recordings after the fact. But when they come directly to Melissa, they're not recorded. So
my favorite one was, "Melissa, you bad girl." That was the best.
Is that the same guy who said that I needed to buy some new clothes?
Oh, no, that's a different one. We got another one because on our postcard we have, our picture. The guy called us. He was not happy with us. Told us we're not doing it the right way. That our copy's bad, and that we're dressed poorly and need to find a new outfit. We don't look professional on our postcard.
Man,
that's hilarious.
It was awesome. That was our favorite one.
Man, those sellers can get. For every good one, there's always a bad one.
And then we still, let's tell you one. So then we still get people who write letters. And I just sent it to Annabelle. I don't know if she got it, JD. Did you read that letter? She took the time to write the letter and send us the postcard back, that if we had done any of our due diligence and saw that her house has been torn down, instead we were just vultures trying to capitalize. I mean, she took the time. She wrote a whole page. And mailed it back.
Did she leave her phone number? Because I'll call her back, because yes, ma'am, we realize that your house has been torn down, but there's still an opportunity for you to make it. And if you're going to write a letter all the way back to us, then we pay for the postage. Then maybe we need to address it. I don't know. I'll read it when I get downstairs.
So it's fun. Those are the fun things.
Yeah, definitely. Wholesaling definitely keeps you on your toes, because you can deal with 0 to 100 very, very quickly.
That's true. You can have people super thankful, and then people who just want to kill you.
Yeah, we'll just remember and rely on the ones that we really help and actually help get them out of a bad situation. That's what we shoot for, and that's
Yep.
That's the purpose behind the business. That's what you like, makes you feel good about the whole deal.
Right.
Plus you get
Exactly.
awesome.
That's right. That's true.
That's the part I enjoy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining in this evening. Hopefully it was valuable. And even if you learned, one tip to help you close a deal while this is still going on, or a year in the future, then my time here was definitely worthwhile. I'm just trying
Thank you, Blake.
to help people. Thank you, Melissa. You're awesome. Thank you for giving your experience today, and JD, thanks for chipping in as well.
Yes, JD.
I wish I could be in that beautiful mind of yours. All right. I'll
Thanks,
see you. Y'all have a good
Jessie.
night.
Thanks, everybody. See you later. Bye.
Thanks, guys.